And everybody, welcome to DJ Sculpture Evolve. I know it's a bit late. I'm live at 3:30 p.m. on a Friday. I know we don't go live tonight, but today a special guest, someone blessed my heart, a great anime animation enthusiast, Chris Rogan, my good friend Intergalaxtic. What's up?
I am really excited actually for this topic, and I'm so glad you asked me to do it because I don't have a lot of cartoon ships at all. I'm not a person who likes to typically do that often,
Mm-hmm.
but I gotta, like this one I have to. I'm so excited.
Uh, so just to clue everyone in, me and Intergalactic and another one of our friends are in let's call it a disagreement.
You could call it that, yeah, a little bit. Um, that disagreement, if DJ doesn't mind me saying,
Yeah.
is that Shadow the Hedgehog is better for Amy than Sonic, and I will die on that hill.
So will I. I totally agree with her on this, but our friend Batman, not good for his names, but he 100% disagrees with this sense that we both have.
I have been a Shadamy person for as long as I've been, as he's been introduced, or at least that I'm aware that he's been introduced and all that
Yeah,
fun stuff. Because I just there are a lot of key points about Sonic and Amy's relationship that make it not just toxic but very strange.
yeah. Now, I will start this off by saying I first thought this when I was watching the Sonic cartoon that used to air on the CW, KW, back in the older days. I was both old, but with when Saturday morning cartoons were Saturday morning cartoons.
Mhm. For me, when I thought about this for the first time, I remember being in middle school, and it was just after many years of watching Sonic. And I had friends who also loved Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'd read a lot of the comics that were in the Archie magazines. And one of the things that always stood out to me about Sonic and Amy's relationship versus Shadow and Amy's relationship was how much more, I don't want to say accepting, but understanding Amy is of Shadow. And I want to point out that if he hadn't had that relationship with Maria, his, well, friend, really, you could almost say they had like a brother-sister relationship.
Yeah,
I think personally, Shadow, even though he doesn't necessarily call Amy a friend, but you can tell between the way that, he's more often uh accepting to helping her and their friends get through certain situations,
Mm.
because in a way, a lot of the way Amy sees humanity is also the way Maria saw humanity. And Shadow can relate to that. So in helping Amy, I almost feel like it helps him feel more connected to Maria as well.
Yeah, I could see that.
And one of the things I've done in all of my research, or one of the things I've noticed, is that Amy and Sonic's relationship, we all know, is very one-sided. Whereas with her and Shadow, they have a mutual respect for each other. And if they, it's not canon, obviously I'm aware. Unfortunately, this isn't canon. But if it was, their relationship would have a very good, solid understanding of each other as equals within their dynamic of being defenders of not just Earth in general, but who they are as people. And I think that they would connect a lot better than Sonic and Amy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So one of the things I did in my research, I wanted to know about their relationships a little bit more, because I do know a lot, but I wanted some good key points from other people and aspects of that kind of thing too. So one of the things I did was I was researching the relationship of Amy and Shadow. And in an overview, one of the things I saw, and this is just an AI overview, while not romantically linked in canon, they have interactions that hint at a mutual respect and even a degree of fondness.
Mm.
And she also mistakes Sonic for Shadow at one point in time. Um, and it kind of sets the foundation of their relationship. So she does recognize this isn't Sonic, but she is also able to connect with him a little bit better in certain ways than her and Sonic ever could or would, which kind of hints at, like, maybe there could have been, but there might not be, because canonically Sonic and Amy do eventually end up together.
Mm.
Some fans suggest or speculate a deeper connection between them, but it remains unexplored. But the term shadami is used to describe a romantic relationshipping of the two.
Mm.
And it would be really weird if I was the only one who thought this, but I'm not. And it's because of how they treat each other within the show.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, Sonic and Amy, their relationship, because it's one sided, she's often seen as very strange or weird or very overbearing. Whereas with
Mm.
her and Shadow, that doesn't seem to be a problem.
No, I mean, you could definitely tell if you look at the two side by side, and you could definitely tell that, you know, Sonic tolerates Amy, but isn't emotionally connected to her. Well, Sarah, he has a set of fondness for, and they're a bit more emotionally in sync, which I do believe. You know, I personally think that kind of agree that, you know, Sonic is just a playboy who wants to be a model, whereas Sarah wants that emotional connection, and
Hmm.
he's good at that too, multiple ways with Maria, with Amy, and I mean, Jesse's a lot more emotionally grounded than Sonic is in the show.
Hmm. And one thing that I found interesting is a lot of fans like this ship because their dynamic has always been so mutual and respectful. And Amy has profound belief in Shadow and his capabilities, even when being difficult. And it's a consistent theme, which was another thing that had been mentioned in my research. And a lot of other characters, that's true. A lot of characters have a tendency to kind of fear Shadow because in what he's capable of or might do, because a lot of the things that, well, he had previously done. But a lot of people fail to realize he has the emotional intelligence enough to handle it,
Mhm.
but often fear him because of how he looks or how he comes off. Whereas Amy has always been his biggest supporter.
Yep. Now, okay, folks, let me say, hey, Cuckles, hey, Gibson, thanks for today. But I will also say that with, Sarah and Amy saying that emotional connection, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a little bit because I do understand our friends' argument of Amy's supposed to be with Sonic. I mean, it's your traditional, you know, go character falls in love with the main protagonist. That's what he's used to. And it makes sense, it does. But what he's not saying is that Sonic is not reciprocated that emotional resonance that Amy is sending out. Now, who is Sarah, which is what I also believe that saving ship actually was rather than the Sonic Amy ship. And, you know, in all fairness to all friends, yes, it's supposed to be Sonic and Amy, but for us who are a bit more intertwined with how the back bubble is, we could see that Carol and Amy makes a great couple, and it both work in two different ways. Just Carol and Amy works a bit better than Sonic and Amy. That's where I stand on this. What do you think about that intergalactic? Hey, intergalactic. Um, Yeah, I mean, my,
Sorry. Um, I completely agree. And I understand that Amy and Sonic are supposed to go hand in hand. I get it. But one of the bigger things for me too is that yes, it's not Amy's job to fix it. But at the same time, Shadow doesn't need that. He's emotionally intelligent enough to understand why he didn't remember the things about Maria, why what he did was not okay. And Amy always reminds him to do better. And she helps drive him within their relationship. She's never done anything other than try to bring him up and help him do better. And that could be the same could be said for, other characters, sure. But again, she is one of the only characters active within that series that even after he did what he did, she advocated for him being able to do better and to be better,
yes,
which allowed him to grow more as a person. So that kindness and that dynamic is something that Shadow needs for character development. And don't get me wrong, I think Rouge is a great character and whatnot, but I could think of another character, like, that's a whole other rabbit hole. I could think of another character I'd pair her with instantly, and that would probably be Knuckles. But anyway, I think in terms of who they are as people, they're similar enough, but different enough at the same time to work because she puts, what he would bring to the table makes up for where she would lack, vice versa. Whereas with Sonic and Amy, Sonic quite literally never really necessarily has the emotional intelligence to really deal with Amy on his own in that way.
yeah,
And it's been referenced in media more recently, in the more recent years, that Sonic does have feelings for her, but he doesn't have the balls to do much about it.
yeah,
And he doesn't necessarily know what he wants like that. He just knows that he likes her.
yeah,
But again, I don't like the dynamic of initially, obviously, he doesn't really like her. He doesn't want to pursue her like that, and he just tolerates her instead of telling her the truth or being as honest as possible all the time. And he kind of just puts up with it. And then eventually down the road, they end up together. That's weird to me. That's weird to me.
yeah,
I don't get it.
that needs to,
But
uh, yeah, and, you know, look, Tackles put it in a great way of living it here. Tackles said, Amy will also always call him out on his bull crap, which is good for him.
exactly. Yes.
So,
See? It
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, the
I
totally,
also believe
yeah,
that Amy or Shadow deserves that happy more than Sonic does.
yeah,
I will be the first to advocate. And this is, I don't advocate for the villain in this quote unquote villain in that scenario often. But Shadow has redeemed himself. He does better every day. And he has room for growth as a being, whether he's, the ultimate life form or not. He's always growing as an individual, which
mm-hmm,
is something Amy needs too, because Sonic kind of keeps her in the same place.
yeah,
Whereas Shadow has the emotional intelligence to know when he's done right or wrong and, try to come back from that and be a hero. Whereas Sonic never really had to worry about that. He just always was the hero.
yeah, totally agree. And it, you know, well put,
Hmm.
makes sense. I agree with it. Cackles is agreeing with a full now, but it, it makes sense. It definitely does in that type of sense. And so, yeah, why not, root for the quote unquote villain, which, you know, he needs every now and then. Uh, yeah.
See, Shadow is also one of the representations in media like that that shows a villain is made, not born. He
Yeah.
wasn't always like that. That was not the case. And he was essentially a product of his, quite literally a product of his environment. And I know a lot of people use that, but when I say a product, I mean that because he was infused with alien matter so that he
Yeah.
could be the ultimate life form. So, and his memories were altered. So he was quite literally made to be that way. And when he remembered, he started to understand. And I want to point out in Sonic Adventure 2, Amy played a really big role in convincing him to be the hero she knew he could be.
Mm, nice. That part I did not know, and
Hmm.
I do appreciate you telling me that because it makes sense. It does. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons a lot of people, a lot of fans are so adamant about this theory because Amy is always, quite literally always, despite everything he's done, believed in Shadow when nobody else did. And somebody who is going through that kind of growth needs a person like that.
Mm, yeah. Most definitely. No.
So in Sonic 2, this is another one of the notes to go into that.
Yeah.
Amy mistakes, that's when Amy mistakes Shadow for being Sonic and she hugs him and it foreshadows a lot of their interactions in the future.
Nice.
She's always been accepting of him.
Mm,
That I don't know, honey. It was somewhere.
yeah. No. I think
Maybe.
that makes sense. It does.
And I'd like to point out also that Amy is known to have a short temper. She's cheerful, but she has a short temper.
Yes.
And she, especially when it's provoked or things don't go her way. But with Shadow, she hasn't really necessarily been given very good reason to have to be that way with him. Whereas Sonic, she has to beg for that attention. And it's almost like Sonic enjoys the attention because he's a hero. So it's kind of just that he's used to that kind of attention. So he just strings it along and doesn't really say anything about it. Whereas and he's uncomfortable by it, by the way. Most of the time, he's usually pretty uncomfortable with it. Whereas with Shadow, that never really seems to be too much of an issue. It's always been a mutual bond, which is obviously the kind of relationship you want versus having to fight for somebody's affection and you hope for the best and just hope that someday something happens.
Mm, totally makes sense. It does.
Hmm.
Mm,
Let's see. Hmm. And one of the other things that I think would make them a good couple is that she's a very empathetic person, very in tune with her emotions, a lot like Shadow. And she's empathetic and is always willing to help those in need, even going out of her way to assist others. And she's also very determined and courageous. Amy's not afraid to face challenges head on and is fiercely protective of her friends. And who does that sound like?
mm.
Shadow the fucking Hedgehog.
Yeah, I know, right? Mm. Yeah,
Sorry, Batman. I'll die on this hill. I said I was gonna die on this hill.
yeah, no, no, like all his spells still on fun, but yeah, we both agree that Amy is way better for Sarah than she is for Sonic. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Let's see if there's anything else I can. Another, and we talked a lot about Shadow and Amy, but let's see. Okay. Sorry, I have so many notes right now.
Yeah, no, take your time.
So, one thing about Sonic and Amy's relationship that I could see definitely being a problem. Sonic also has a short temper and is impatient.
Yeah.
Despite his positive traits, Sonic can also be impatient and short-tempered. He doesn't like to be slowed down or held back, and this sometimes can lead him to make rash decisions. Amy wants a relationship with him, but this is one of the traits about him that I find problematic because he's also carefree and fun-loving. Now, take that with a short temper and the impatience and everything I just said. It doesn't make sense that their relationship could work to me for that reason because if he's willing to make those rash decisions and doesn't want to be held back or slowed down, I would envision a hero not wanting that relationship or it being problematic for him because he wants to be a hero and continue to have fun and do the things that make life fun for him and fun to live.
Okay, that's yeah. Okay, but why you will say that? Oh, you retract that now. Okay, why you will say that a friend of mine was saying, oh, just like DJ. Yeah, no. Nah, I will get you up for that. Yeah.
I also want to point out that, where is it? So, so in some of my research, because I'm a very in-depth person, I wanted to look into possibilities about what shadow could really mean as well. And one of the things that came up, and from an artist perspective, this makes a lot of sense. Shadow personality traits, according to Carl Jung's theory, are the unconscious aspects of the personality that are often repressed or denied because they are deemed unacceptable or desirable. Now, if you take this logic and you apply it to who Shadow is versus who Sonic is, it makes a lot of sense. And everything that Shadow is, because of Sonic's cocky arrogance, even after everything they go through together initially, Shadow is such a good representation of this because Sonic, a lot of the things that Shadow is, he would deem unfit because he's such a cocky individual as is. So he represses a lot of the qualities that Shadow possesses because he's the hero. He wants that persona, and what people think of him to a degree does have to matter a little bit, including to himself.
Yeah.
So looking at somebody like Shadow and having that cocky nature, of course he's going to be a little iffy and judgy because, again, everything that Sonic is or what could possibly be in a lot of the good aspects, even Shadow doesn't bother about repressing. He doesn't bother with that. He just is. And Sonic has a lot of growth in those areas to do to become more emotionally in tune with himself, whereas Shadow understands on a deeper level because of his emotional intelligence, where he's at, where he needs to grow, and what he can do to make things better. Whereas Sonic kind of just goes in ready to save the day and that's about that. But Shadow, he has that potential for so much growth as a person, and that's what makes him better to me in those aspects because he had that time to reflect on who he was in those moments, whereas Sonic hasn't quite had that.
Yeah, no, I get it. That makes sense.
And it says, while the shadow can include negative traits, it also encompasses parts of the personality that might be valuable or even necessary for complete and healthy self. So together they could make an unstoppable team. That would be great if they could be, one human being
Huh,
or one being.
yeah.
But separately, they're both needed for that kind of character development, and I understand that. But I believe that because of the things Shadow has been through, it made him so much more of a diverse and complex person who isn't necessarily bad at all. He's just had to overcome things that not everybody goes through, which is something emotionally that connects me to that character as well. He's a good reminder that you can come from a bad place, but turn what place you're currently in into an even better and beautiful place to thrive and just be, which is exactly what he is. He doesn't want to be anything other than what, him and Maria wanted to see within the world, which is fantastic. He can be emotionally in connection with himself
Mm,
and still be the edgy, dark humored little hedgehog that he is and still make a difference.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. It does.
Which is one of the things I think would be good for a relationship if he did pursue one with Amy,
Mm,
because he would be willing to step back, reflect, and come back and do what he needs to do to be the person, he needs to be to make sure she's at where she's at. And tell me he wouldn't treat her just as well as he did Maria, if not better, because it's a completely different dynamic, different relationship.
I
So
mean,
he would more than likely treat her like the queen she deserves to be treated like,
yes,
right off rip.
yeah, agreed. I do agree with that.
Hmm.
Mm,
And there aren't a lot of villains I can think of either that I can say that about. Or quote unquote villain, because I don't believe he was ever actually a villain to begin with. I don't necessarily agree with that.
yeah,
Because again, he was that way because he was altered. It
yeah.
wasn't who he really was.
No, I mean, honestly, I think Sarah won't fix it the anti-hero kind
Hmm.
of all type, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yep. Because, I mean, you know, Dr. Robotnik, cool villain, but Sarah, yeah, anti-hero.
One of the things in the research too that a lot of people tend to forget about, like, and it's funny because it's part of the story that's so important that makes Shadow Shadow is that he wasn't that way before his brain was altered, and the reason he was altered was because he got captured by Gunn and he went with Gerald.
Mm,
Gerald and Shadow got captured, and unfortunately Maria was lost to this incident. If you go with that lore, I know there's a whole other lore where she was sick, and that's why. It all depends which one you go with, but either way, they are the reason Maria was lost. And
yeah,
in vengeance or revenge, that's why Shadow was altered, was so that Gerald could change his primary focus to basically getting the revenge he needed or wanted for Maria.
yeah, no, I agree, I definitely do. uh, is the and it all is the
Let's see.
throughout you want to touch on with this topic.
Um, let's see. So some of the traits that are more positive when you look into Shadow, which again is a very symbolic meaning. Sonic and Shadow's relationship is meant to be obviously or Sonic is the primary hero, and
Yeah,
Shadow is quite literally a shadow of who Sonic is. And
yeah.
some of those potentially positive aspects you can look into or learn about or discover when you go looking about what a shadow really means, because I'm also a Wiccan pagan, and I believe in dream spiritual meanings and stuff like that.
Mm,
But it also within the cartoon world, they often do that a lot. We do that a lot as like artists. We'll have certain traits about certain characters that mean something on purpose. And potentially positive aspects of shadows are personal power, independence, emotional sensitivity, and ambition. And those are all things Amy already possesses. Um, Independence, she has, I want to call what we would see with Sonic more of a codependent, one sided relationship
yeah,
almost. Whereas with Shadow, she doesn't have to ask for that mutual respect. It's kind of just there.
yeah. No,
And the
I
emotional
agree.
sensitivity, Amy is one sensitive little lady. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Personal power, girl, that hammer, she gonna lay down the law every
yeah,
time. And she is very ambitious in everything that she does. And together they would be the power couple. So I
yeah,
think canonically that's one of the reasons they don't ship or have her with him within the show, because then it's almost it would seem too perfect, if that makes sense. So being with Sonic, it gives it more of the story of, this is where they were and this is what they grew into. Whereas with somebody like Shadow, she wouldn't have to try as hard.
yeah.
And I almost feel bad for Amy in that way.
No,
She's just destined,
I get that.
unfortunately, to be
Okay,
with the hero.
now I'm going to throw you a little curveball. I didn't
Okay.
prep you for this, but if you had to pair Charlotte with someone that wasn't Amy, who would it be and why?
This is a good question.
Hmm.
That can't be my answer. That's really dark. No, so my brain instantly went, no, he gonna die alone. And I was like, that's miserable. Like, that is horrible. But, like, that's because I personally have never been for those really cocky, arrogant. Mm-mm. So I don't like it. So, an unbiased, if I was going to look and say, who would I pair him with? This is a tough one. Because, like, I feel like somebody like even Cream is too childlike, even though he's also technically a child.
Yeah,
So
no,
that wouldn't work either.
no,
And like, I
I
want to say,
see that, but yeah, like
honestly, if I was going to pair him with anyone, he would just stay alone. And I know that sounds messed up,
no,
but I would say he would be a single father. He would just, hit it and quit it, honestly.
yeah, no, I got you, I hear you.
He
I'm,
might have a few kids with a few different characters, honestly.
yeah, no, this is why I wanted to throw this at you because it's
That's what I would
something,
do.
yeah, it's something that if you're not actively thinking about, it's hard to say, oh, I would ship him with, you know, whoever. And
If I
Yeah.
was gonna do it, this is how it would go. Okay.
Okay.
Sonic and Amy would get together briefly, right?
Uh,
But she would leave him, maybe potentially after having a child, I don't know, because she's sick of his shit.
yeah.
And then she would get with somebody like Shadow because of her obsessive character and her nature, she would see a little bit of Sonic, but better, some of the qualities in Shadow. She'd be like, damn, I was with the wrong dude. And then he's gonna have one child with her, and then she's gonna have a child with Shadow, and they are going to be brothers or something.
Uh,
Female cousins, maybe one male, one female. I don't know, but I definitely feel like Sonic would be the type of character that like it wouldn't work out, but then he
mm,
would find somebody else and try to do better because he would need that heartbreak to build himself up,
yeah,
to be a better
no,
person.
I see that. I do. I mean, possibly, yeah, I would live him single and, you know, the only relationship that he would have is his bromance with Tails. So,
You know what's funny is I
what?
sat here and I just thought about that, and I'm like, what if like he's really down and out, right? And Sonic just goes to the bar one night because him and Amy break up, right? And he ends up meeting Tails. He doesn't know how this happens, but he gets blacked out drunk and he just wakes up with Tails. We don't know what happened, but it happened.
Yeah,
Like,
no. So I get it, but yeah, that's how I look at it. Is that his only stable relationship would be with Tails, and that's it. So,
Batman's gonna be so mad.
oh, I know he will. I know. I
Because
mean,
like canonically, Shadow and Rouge also have a daughter together, which
yeah.
I guess whatever.
Uh,
But like Luna's cool. Luna's cool. Don't get
yeah.
me wrong. But I still think Shadow and Amy would also have cuter babies.
No, I
I
agree
know that's
with
not a
you.
valid point, but like
I agree with you, but yeah, no, I would definitely say if we were able to get Batman to join us, he would be
no.
yelled at right now, and I would have to mute his mic. And
See, his argument, for those who don't know, I'm gonna let you know his one, he tried to make a point, okay? And this point doesn't make sense because of who he is too.
uh,
His point, well, Shadow's a creature of the night, and he doesn't need love. First of all, sir, you also claim to be a creature of the night, and you wanted nothing to do with love until you just fell in love recently.
yeah,
So
yeah, no, like this this dude was all child doesn't you love, I don't need love. Dude, he's actively going to this golfer's place in Indiana right now.
literally driving the 6 hours to go hang out. And it's funny because, or no, the few hours to go hang out. My bad. They drove 6 hours last week or whatever to go to Ren Fair. But
Yeah,
a lot of his arguments being that Shadow doesn't need anyone. He's good on his own. He doesn't need emotional connection. Shut up. What about Maria? You cannot dismiss that. That
no,
was a whole thing that happened. When you say that, you dismiss Maria entirely. You cannot say that.
yeah, no, I mean, in his photos, he's a young buck. He doesn't know better. I mean, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot. but I know when I see a good couple like Sarah and Amy, uh,
The only reason he doesn't get the girl is because Rouge is there. I
yeah,
just want to point it out. That's it. That's it. All he'd have to do is walk in and be like, "I'm Sonic, but better," and Amy'd be like, "I'll take it.
yeah,
I'll
no,
take it."
I
Because this
agree.
dude keeps pretending that we're just really good friends, but he wants to reference that maybe he does have feelings for me, but kind of deny. No, that's
Yeah,
shitty. That's really mean. You don't do that to somebody who claims your friend. Don't do
yeah,
that. That's
no,
shitty.
no,
That's really
definitely.
childish and immature.
Yeah, now we also wanted to touch a bit on the K-pop demon Hunters movie that came out recently. Now, let me ask you this, Intergalactic. What's your experience with the K-pop genre?
So I'm not gonna lie. When our friend Natty
Yeah,
asked me to watch this, initially I was like, I've seen a lot about it. I should probably try it. But at the same time, I went in expecting nothing because everybody online tends to, hype stuff up and ruin it for everybody else.
mm,
But I cried 3 times watching this movie. I cried 3 times. I am a grown 29-year-old woman, and I cried 3 times because Rumi, a lot of herself I saw within myself in certain ways.
yeah,
Because when she looks at Genu and says, "I'm a mistake," and she wholeheartedly means that. There's not much else other than like confidence in what she's saying on her face. With my situation, how I grew up, that was very relatable, and I instantly started crying. It was very each character had such a good dynamic that didn't they all worked together, but the differences made them such a good trio and good for each other. I loved it.
yeah, I agree. And that makes sense. I mean,
Hmm.
like, okay, yeah, Nadia told me onto it, and she told me, hey, once you watch it, you're gonna love it. And now, before this, I had nothing to do with K-pop in general, like, at all.
Same. J-pop was a lot of what I leaned into. I didn't venture too far into like the K-pop realm either until I heard all of this.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, that was my first exposure to K-pop at all, and I would definitely say that it got me hurt. I mean, I'm not actively listening to K-pop, but if I were to get this soundtrack on my music streamer, I would be playing it non-stop. I could tell you that. So, yeah.
Actually, I saw a video. I don't know if I shared it with you. I should have. I think this was before you even watched it. I might have shared it with Natty. I did. It was somebody took the lyrics of oh my gosh. Oh man. Ugh. The last song in the movie they do together, the trio. I can't. Oh my god.
Uh,
But somebody did an analysis of it, and it turns out a lot of the lyrics within that song are also Bible verses, and I
really?
didn't know that. I thought that was really cool. Like 50 to 60% of this song is mostly Bible verses. And I had no idea.
No clue at all on my end. Now, I will say, and I, I believe I said this with you, I did come across a video where a dungeon master took one of the songs and twisted it into a D&D version.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Oh, I just saw another one today where somebody took it and turned it into metal, and it was really good. I think I
not,
sent that to you.
I will have to look
Hmm.
when we're done, but yeah, no, like,
I was like, I'm gonna need an entire album done this way because it's so versatile. I didn't realize how good you could turn most of the songs in that movie into other genres of music, no problem.
yeah,
And it
no,
just works.
yeah, like, seriously, and
Hmm.
I, did you hear about how they're wanting to do two more movies and a series for it? Like,
Yes. I had heard something about a live action as well. I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on it. But
it is.
I did
I
see something about that.
remember that too.
But I'm not gonna lie, that's terrifying. Only because as somebody, Netflix, please do a good job because the
Uh,
Full Metal Alchemist movie
uh,
live action,
no,
it was better than Dragon Ball Z, but
yeah,
some of the things just didn't make sense. Please don't do that to this. This is fine just the way it is. Leave it as it is.
yeah, no, no. The whole taking cartoons and making the live action, no. I mean, I know you know this, but Avatar The Last Airbender.
Oh, that was tragic. It was terrible. The first one that came out in like 2010 or whatever. Oh, that was horrible.
You mean the
Oh,
only one that came out because they didn't do anything beyond that?
I remember going and seeing this in theater. I walked out. I walked out. I was like, this is not Avatar: The Last Airbender. I was like, what is this? Like,
I saw it twice in the same day. Both time I sat through it, I did not like it. Second time, put me to sleep. Like,
that's so funny, DJ. You got a free nap.
yeah,
Comfy chair.
yeah, like, I'm gonna tell you, if a movie's gonna put me to sleep, I'm hoping it's one that I actually enjoy.
When I ask you this question, remember that it's okay to have an answer because no matter what, you're going to suffer either way. If you had to pick, which would you sit through? The live action Dragon Ball or that movie, the Avatar one? Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Live action Dragon Ball because I know it's bad, I know, but let me tell you why. The live action Dragon Ball, at least they did not advertise that in 3D or did,
True.
yeah, because they advertise Avatar in 3D, and
True.
so that for that reason alone, Dragon Ball.
See, like when they did, see, another thing that they tend to do too in a lot of live actions, I find like a lot of obviously because of how long it's been, you need to be careful because if you don't have a lot of the same writers, a lot of the same, even to have, I feel personally, any of the character designers or any of the animators involved in the process, you are going to miss so much about who the characters are as people. And when you take something even like another thing we wanted to talk about was the harem movies.
Yeah,
The second one versus the first one, you can tell that it was kind of just whoever it was watched it, like the watched the series, but they didn't have as much involvement within the first movie or even the series at all.
yeah,
And
no,
I hate when that happens.
I did too. I mean, the the Joker movie about it, it was good to finally get the resolution of
Yeah.
what happened to his parents because that was teased a lot in the series, and we didn't get an answer when the
Yeah.
series ended. So I do enjoy that they kind of closed that chapter. Was it in a great way?
Yeah.
No, but I wish they closed that chapter of his adventure in what
Yeah.
is his powers. And, you know, they could have done better. They could have, but they could have done a lot worse. I mean, I hate to say this, they could have gone directly to a live action movie.
Yeah. And I think I am like it's not the worst they've ever done. Like I also personally for me, I did like the Rocco's Modern Life movie. I did.
Yeah.
And the reason a lot of the reasoning for that is because a lot of the things that in the show as a kid you would watch, certain characters or certain quirks about like you noticed were a little different from others
Hmm.
typically that they did address, like Ralph,
Yeah.
like their son. And I loved that. Or well, now their daughter. But I loved that for him. Or them. I absolutely loved it. I loved that. Because I always, even when I was a kid, I remember being like, he kind of fruity though.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt something was there. I did.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I did
But,
like that.
yeah, I mean, that I would say is somewhat of a good reputation of they knew what they were doing and they paid it off in a good way. But,
Hmm.
you know, with that, it makes sense to do it like that.
Yep.
But, you know, it didn't, and don't come from me, but it fails them. that movie,
Hmm.
I didn't feel like we needed that movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It was nice to have, but I get what you're saying. It's kind of just like,
yeah, no, like, but didn't need it. I mean, I don't know anyone who actually wanted a Invisible Zim movie.
I remember hearing about it and just being super excited. And you are right. Like, I never really looked at Rocco's Modern Life and said, damn, I really need to know what happened. Because honestly, in my brain, well, they went up to space. There's no hope for them.
Yeah,
But apparently, within like, what, 30 years, they just somehow come back. And I'm like, they
yeah.
should be unalive. Like,
Like, I mean, how? Why? But okay.
and Pork Chop, too. Like, dang, how old is this dog? Is he immortal?
Yeah, no, like,
And
I
his
mean,
mop.
I honestly thought Pork Chop would have been gone, but no. Like, I mean, come on, 4 years in space, you would think that something would change, but I guess time was differently from them. I mean,
Which makes sense because by their logic, essentially, they were shot into space, and I can't remember, were they orbiting the whole time?
I believe they will.
Which doesn't even make sense at that point because, like, time-wise, you still run on Earth time. Like, how are you not aged at least? And
Yeah.
everyone else on Earth is up with the times, which obviously they're not going to be up to times, in space because they haven't friggin' been here. But like, also, you have satellite TV. Why did you not pick up anything from a satellite within orbit?
Yeah, no, like, it doesn't make sense at all. I mean, they could have done these movies a lot more justice than what they did. Now,
I will say the button,
yeah,
that was very much a very them thing to do, to
yeah,
not see this button. To be fair, that's fine. Whatever.
yeah, no, I mean, you're right, but it's definitely something that overall didn't need to be, but
Yeah.
it is.
I agree.
Yeah,
I loved my kids, for anybody watching, just watch the whole topic of like Hey Arnold came up because last night my kids were watching the Hey Arnold movie for the first time. It was the first one. And my kids
mm,
actually loved it. They really love Grandpa. They think he's great.
yeah,
And they love Grandma even more, which they should.
yeah.
Grandma is fantastic, always your biggest supporter, even though she's crazy. But
Uh,
that's me. When I look at Grandma, that's what I want to be when I'm like 80, because it's gonna be me, but it's SeaWorld.
yeah, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm I'm going to this for free if she does even know I'm doing this, but it's a girl that has written a book and is working on a series. The first book is called Into a Galactic Space Trap. You can buy it on Amazon.
It's actually intergalactic space garbage.
Intergalactic Space Goblins on Amazon. It's a good read. I'm currently reading it
Thank you.
myself. I highly recommend it. It's good. She's planning at least 3 more books from what I know. And, but it's definitely a good read so far. I would recommend you check it out by the physical copy, or they do have it on Kindle Unlimited. That either which way you want to check it out, go check it out.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Tucker and Shadow the Hedgehog would make great friends.
I agree. I definitely do.
Which is why I advocate for the relationship
Uh,
of Amy and Shadow so hard because I see a lot of the similarities between two of the main characters of my book.
yeah, no, I got ya. But yeah, definitely, if you want to check out a book after July is posted, I will put a link to it in the description of this live. So go check it out.
Um, it took me 7 years of planning, essentially. And the reason for that being because the main character was actually an accident. I had stopped drawing because of some traumatic things that had happened to me. And then one day, kind of sitting there with some stuff going on that I won't get too into because, internet. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to draw something because I got nothing better to do. And I drew this kid with this skunky looking hair, and he was wearing this hoodie, and he was eating a bag of one of my favorite snacks, which is the yogurt covered pretzels. And he was talking to this alien girl next to him, and he asked her in the image, he's like, "Do you dress that ridiculously all the time?" And it just evolved from there.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. So definitely, if you like sci-fi, go check it out. Definitely a great read. I'm gonna continue it after we're done here.
I appreciate you.
I, I like it.
I know. It's just always nice too because I think intergalactic space garbage has a little bit of stuff for just about anyone. Because again, it is sci-fi, but it also has themes of magic as well as I want to say deities because each planet, is correlated with a
Yeah,
deity
yeah.
or correlates to. And the magical aspect, um, as time goes on with the series, it's going to be looked at as more of a scientific standpoint. So it combines the best of both worlds in different ways. And I love that. And the whole point of the book is essentially the main character is tasked with saving the world while also trying to keep his own, little world, everything that makes him him, together because puberty's a bitch.
Yeah, nah, I got
But
you. Yeah.
it's about his character development and growth as an individual and what it means to be human. And I love that. I hope everyone who reads it can identify with the character, find a little piece of themselves in them to kind of, grow with as the journey continues.
Yeah, no, I got you. And that's how I take it. My book, which for those of you that who don't know, I'm writing my own book. I have read my own book. I have not publish it yet because I want to get some variables and opinions on how it reads, but mine is a wheelchair bound goal figuring out his seat, especially with the conflict. And I mean, some of this due to D&D, but whole Glenfall is the main villain of the story. And, he wants to stop the prophecy where he has to take him down. So, yeah, it's really a family ties situation.
I will say, when we played the campaign, I had a lot of fun being that character, especially because I feel that generational trauma is real,
Yeah,
and it made it a lot of fun to play because the decision making was like, you know, do I stick to what I'm used to, or do I branch out from what I currently know to do something better? And I think everybody deals with something like that at least once in their life.
yeah, and that's something that you don't see in D&D too much. I
Mm,
mean, it's normally a, a less mastermind, not,
yeah,
yeah. So, I'm glad you did it, and I know you're gonna enjoy the book when you read it. So,
yes, I'm excited.
yeah,
Especially because Tucker himself, I know I don't, I should, I used to say it a lot and I need to keep saying it because he actually is a good representation as well for people who are disabled. A lot of the struggles he goes through um, are, it sucks a lot because he has the bottom right part of his leg is actually missing.
mm,
So he's an amputee essentially, and
yeah,
he gets bullied pretty hard. Not just because of that, but his appearance as well, which he can't control. So I liked having that representation as well. Um, because you don't get a lot of books like that either, where the hero himself is somebody who is disabled.
yeah, no,
And I
and
loved that representation. I
yeah,
do love that.
and that's kind of what inspired me to do it in my book is that, you know, we see these heroes who are perfectly able, who are, just example of, strong, heroic people, but
Mm,
we never see a hero that really struggles with personal life.
hmm.
And I feel I feel that you're doing that with your book, and I'm aiming to do that with mine.
Mm.
Uh, yeah,
It's always really nice because intergalactic space garbage too. Like there are a lot of hold on, sweetheart. There are a lot of representations, and it doesn't just stop there. I really again wanted something for everyone. And Tucker himself, when you read the beginning of the book, one of the things that's talked about, and this isn't like a major, huge thing, it's not going to give anything away. Tucker himself is thought of by a lot of people around him, like including doctors and especially other adults, to be autistic. And
Mm.
it's because of the way he views and sees the world and how it works and, how he functions, especially with socially. So
Mm.
it's kind of something that they thought, pertained to autism. And that representation is also in the book too, not just with him, but it will be something that's touched on a little more in book two.
No, I hear you.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, when you begin my book, the, I mean, the full paragraph of chapter one tells you he's in a wheelchair and people don't see her for who she is.
Hmm.
So, you know, I definitely understand that. I get it. And it takes people like that to actually write a character with a disability. I mean, for those who don't know, and it should be obvious by now because I did like three separate videos. I have triple palsy. I do. That well known on my channel. So, of course, I'm gonna try to write that into any project that I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with Tucker, the representation of the leg being missing is because for a lot of my life, I've had to fight tooth and nail and give an arm and a leg just to survive.
Mm.
And being autistic and seeing the world as differently as I do, or feeling things like I do about certain things that happen, hold on, honey. Um, Everything that Tucker is a lot of who I am as a person. And dealing with autism, especially as being an adult, um, it can be incredibly tough, especially understanding people socially and certain behaviors and outcomes and whatnot. So a lot of who he is and him being who he is never it was never an accident. It was exactly everything he is a representation of who I was, especially at that age as well.
Mm.
And hold on, honey. But that's what makes Tucker so special. He's very diverse in that way. He's a very layered human being and understands a lot of struggles most people wouldn't. And him being autistic, of like you just said, of course I'm going to throw parts of myself in there that make it very relatable for the people reading. Because somewhere out there, somebody's going to connect with that because we're disabled, in certain
Yeah.
ways too. So it's nice to have somebody who understands, even if you're just reading about it and connecting with it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, well, we're intergalactic faithful to me, and I always enjoy chatting with you because you are all on the same wavelength with some of the stuff, and
Hmm.
you know, I just always enjoy, you know, picking your brain about random topics.
It's funny because somebody literally just called me a day or two ago because something happened to them and they needed a really, really nice distraction. And he was like, I literally called you because you don't stop talking about things you're passionate about, and I need that right now. I was like, oh. Thanks.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna end this stream here, but guys, thanks for watching,
Bye.
and yeah, I will talk to you again on Tuesday. Bye, guys.